Jake couldn't stop thinking about Zara all evening. There was something about her that stuck in his mind like a song he couldn't get out of his head. The way she analyzed every simple interaction, the strange symbols in her notebook, and especially that moment when her skin seemed to glow. He tried to convince himself it was just his imagination, but deep down, he knew he had seen something unusual. The next day, Jake arrived at the coffee shop 10 minutes early. He ordered 2 drinks this time, his usual black coffee and a vanilla latte, just in case Zara wanted to try something different. He had spent the morning thinking of ways to help her understand human behavior better. Zara walked in exactly on time, carrying the same notebook and wearing a different outfit but with the same perfectly straight posture. "Hey!" She spotted Jake immediately, and walked over with that same intense focus she seemed to bring to everything. "You purchased 2 beverages," she observed, sitting down across from him. "I thought you might want to try the latte. It's sweet, and most people seem to like it." Zara picked up the cup and examined it carefully, as if it were a scientific specimen. She took a small sip, and her eyes widened slightly. "The taste is... pleasant. Why do humans add sweeteners to their drinks?" "Because sweet things make us feel good, I guess. It's comforting." "Comforting," she repeated, writing something in her notebook. "So food serves emotional purposes beyond nutrition." Jake nodded, still amazed by how she turned every ordinary thing into a learning experience. "So what did you want to study today?" Zara looked around the coffee shop, then back at him. "I have been observing something I do not understand. Yesterday, I watched several humans engage in what appeared to be casual physical contact, touching hands, embracing, sitting close together. But I cannot determine the rules governing when this contact is appropriate." Jake thought about this. Well, it depends on the relationship between people. Friends might hug or high-five. Couples hold hands or sit close. Family members are usually more physically affectionate than strangers. But how do you know what level of contact is acceptable? Is there a system? "It's not really a system you learn from books," Jake explained. "It's more like ... You feel it. You read social cues, body language, the situation." Zara looked frustrated for the first time since he had met her. But what if someone cannot naturally read these cues? What if they need to learn them deliberately? And her voice made Jake pay closer attention. "Are you saying you have trouble with social cues?" "I find human nonverbal communication very challenging to interpret," she admitted. "Where I come from, people are much more direct in their interactions. All this subtle signaling is confusing." Jake felt a wave of sympathy. "Hard, I mean. I study communication for a living, and even I sometimes miss social cues. But don't worry, we can work on it together." Over the next hour, Jake found himself becoming an unofficial teacher of human behavior. He pointed out couples around the coffee shop, explaining how their body language showed their comfort level with each other. He demonstrated different types of handshakes and explained when each was appropriate. See how that guy leaned in when his friend was talking? Jake pointed to 2 students at a nearby table. That shows he's really interested in what his friend is saying. But notice how he's not sitting too close. They're friends, but not super close friends. Zara followed his gaze and studied the interaction intently. The friend who is speaking. He maintains eye contact but occasionally looks away. This indicates he is being honest, but not trying to dominate the conversation. Exactly. You're getting good at this. What impressed Jake was how quickly Zara learned. Within an hour, she was spotting social cues he hadn't even pointed out to her. Her analytical mind seemed perfect for breaking down the complex rules of human interaction. As the afternoon went on, their conversations became more personal. Jake found himself talking about his family, the struggles with his graduate program, and his dreams of maybe becoming a professor someday. Zara listened with the same intense focus she gave to everything else, but there was something warmer about her attention when he talked about himself.
"What about you?" Jake asked. "What's your family like?"
Zara was quiet for a long moment. "My family is very different from yours. They are not emotionally expressive. Physical affection is rare. Everyone is expected to be completely self-sufficient and logical at all times." "That sounds kind of lonely." "I did not think so until I came here," Zara said softly. "But watching human families interact, seeing how they comfort each other and share joy, I am beginning to understand what I was missing." Jake felt his heart go out to her. Well, you're here now. You can learn all about human connection. Is that what this is? Zara asked, looking directly at him. Connection? Yeah, Jake said, suddenly feeling shy. I mean, we're becoming friends, right? It's a kind of connection. Zara wrote something in her notebook, but this time she seemed to be struggling with the words. Friendship, she said finally. I have never experienced this before. Never. But didn't you have friends growing up? No. Where I come from, relationships are based on utility and shared goals. This, caring about someone just because you enjoy their company, it is completely new to me. Gosh. Jake couldn't imagine growing up without friends. Well, you're getting the full experience now. Friendship is one of the best parts of being human. Moment Jake said being human, Zara got a strange look on her face. She quickly looked down at her notebook, but not before Jake noticed her skin seemed to shimmer slightly, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. Are you okay? He asked. Yes. I am fine. Just processing what you said. She looked up at him again, and her expression was softer than usual. Jake, may I ask you something personal? Sure. What makes you want to help me? I am clearly different from other people, you know. I ask strange questions and do not understand basic social concepts. Why do you spend your time teaching me? Thought about it. Why was he so drawn to helping her? I guess because you're genuinely curious about people. Most of us just go through life without really thinking about why we do things. But you want to understand everything. It's refreshing. Honestly, teaching you is helping me understand humans better too. Zara smiled, and this time there was no mistaking it. Her skin definitely had a soft glow to it. It was subtle, like she was lit by candlelight, but they were sitting in normal fluorescent lighting. That is kind of you to say, she said. I find our interactions very ... What is the word, fulfilling? Yeah, me too. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, and Jake realized something was happening between them. It wasn't just friendship. Anymore, he was starting to have feelings for this strange, brilliant girl who analyzed everything like a scientist, but was learning to feel like a human. Zara, he said carefully, would you like to continue these lessons somewhere else? Maybe. We could walk around campus, or I could show you other places where people interact. That would be very helpful for my research, she said. But there was something in her voice that suggested her interest went beyond research as they packed up to leave. Jake noticed Zara's notebook had fallen open to a page covered in those strange symbols. No. But now he could see that some of the symbols were accompanied by small sketches of him. His face, his hands, even the way he sat when he was explaining something. You've been drawing me? He asked. Zara quickly closed. The notebook and her cheeks took on that subtle glow again. I document everything that is important to my studies. Jake felt a warmth spread through his chest. It was important to her studies. But he was important to her, period. As they walked out of the coffee shop together, Jake had no idea that he wasn't just teaching a socially awkward exchange student about human behavior. He was actually helping an alien researcher understand emotions for the first time in her life. And in the process, both of them were falling for each other in ways that would change everything. The coffee shop was buzzing with its usual afternoon crowd when Jake walked in. He had been coming to this place for 3 years now, ever since he started his linguistics program at the university. The smell of roasted beans and the sound of students chatting about their assignments felt like home to him. Jake ordered his regular black coffee and looked around for a quiet spot to work on his research paper. Most tables were taken, but then he noticed her. A girl sitting alone in the corner booth, staring intensely at a couple having a conversation 2 tables away. She had a notebook open in front of her and was writing something down with quick, precise movements. What caught Jake's attention wasn't just her focus, but the way she watched people. It was like she was seeing humans for the first time. Every gesture, every laugh, every casual touch between friends seemed to fascinate her completely. The girl looked to be around his age, maybe 22 or 23. Her hair was dark and straight, falling just past her shoulders. She wore simple clothes, jeans, and a white sweater. But something about her seemed different. Maybe it was the way she sat perfectly straight, or how her eyes never missed a single detail of what was happening around her. Jake found himself curious. He had always been good at reading people, probably because he spent so much time studying languages and communication. But this girl was like a puzzle he couldn't solve. He decided to sit at the table next to hers. As he opened his laptop, he glanced over and saw her notebook. The pages were filled with symbols he had never seen before. It looked almost like a language, but not like any alphabet he had studied. And he had studied many. The girl suddenly looked up and caught him staring. Instead of being annoyed, she seemed genuinely curious about his interest. She tilted her head slightly, like she was studying him the same way she had been watching everyone else. "Sorry," Jake said, feeling embarrassed. "I didn't mean to look. At your work? I'm a linguistics student, and I've never seen writing like that before." She blinked slowly, as if processing what he had said. "Linguistics," she repeated, pronouncing each syllable carefully. "You study human communication patterns." The way she said human communication patterns struck Jake as odd, but he nodded. "Dea, basically. Languages, how people talk to each other, that sort of thing." "Fascinating," she said, and she seemed to really mean it. "I am Zara. I am also studying human... ... She paused, searching for the right word. ... Behavior. "Are you an exchange student? Your English is really good, but you have an interesting way of speaking." Zara looked confused for a moment. "Exchange student," she repeated slowly. "Yes, you could say that. I am here to learn about human customs and social structures." Jake found himself smiling. There was something refreshing about how serious she was about everything. Most people his age tried to act casual about their studies, but Zara approached learning like it was the most important thing in the world.
What kind of behavior are you studying? He asked, genuinely interested. Zara glanced at her notebook, then back at him.
I am trying to understand. Why humans engage in physical contact during greetings? Also, the purpose of consuming beverages together, and the significance of facial expressions during social interactions. Jake almost laughed, but he could tell she was being completely serious. Those are pretty basic social things, haven't you grown up around people? A strange look crossed Zara's face. My upbringing was very ... isolated. I did not have much exposure to typical social environments. It made sense to Jake. Maybe she was from a really small town, or had been homeschooled in a very strict family. It would explain why normal social interactions seemed so foreign to her. "Well, if you want to understand human behavior, you're in the right place," Jake said, gesturing around the coffee shop. "College students are pretty social. You can observe all kinds of interactions here." Zara's eyes lit up with interest. "You would not mind if I asked you questions about what I observe?" "Not at all. Actually, it sounds kind of fun. I spend so much time thinking about how language works, but I don't often think about the social stuff behind it." Group of students at a nearby table burst into laughter. Zara immediately turned to watch them, her expression intense with concentration. "Why do they make those sounds?" she asked Jake quietly. "Laughing? They probably heard something funny. But what is the biological purpose of this response?" Jake paused. He had never really thought about laughter from a scientific perspective. "I guess it's how we show that we're happy or that we understand a joke. It's also social when we laugh together. It creates a bond between people." Zara wrote something in her notebook using those strange symbols. "So laughter serves as both an emotional expression and a social bonding mechanism." "Yeah, exactly." Jake was impressed by how quickly she understood the concept. Just then, Jake's elbow knocked against his coffee cup as he reached for his laptop. The cup tipped over, sending coffee spilling across the table and dripping onto the floor. Some of it splashed toward Zara's notebook. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." Jake jumped up, grabbing napkins to clean up the mess. But Zara's reaction was completely unexpected. Instead of being upset or annoyed, she watched the coffee spread across the table with fascination. She even moved her notebook aside calmly and started studying Jake's frantic cleanup efforts. "You are experiencing distress over this?" "Accident," she observed, her voice filled with curiosity rather than irritation. "Well, yeah, I just made a mess and almost ruined your notes," Jake said, still wiping up coffee. "Aren't you annoyed?" Zara considered this question seriously. Should I be experiencing annoyance? What would be the appropriate emotional response? In this situation, Jake stopped cleaning and looked at her. Most people would have reacted automatically, maybe been frustrated, or at least said it was okay. But Zara was asking about the appropriate response like she was learning the rules of a game. Most people would probably be a little annoyed, but then they'd tell me not to worry about it, Jake explained. It's just one of those things that happens. I see, Zara said, nodding thoughtfully. So the social expectation is to display mild irritation followed by reassurance. This minimizes conflict while acknowledging the inconvenience. Yeah, I guess that's right. Jake had never broken down a simple social interaction like that before, but her analysis was surprisingly accurate. Zara smiled then, and something strange happened. For just a moment, her skin seemed to have a subtle glow to it, like she was lit from within. Jake blinked and the effect was gone. He figured it must have been the afternoon sunlight coming through the window at just the right angle. Annoyed, Jake, she said. I found your reaction very informative. Thank you for the learning experience. Jake sat back down, now completely intrigued by this unusual girl. In his 3 years of college, he had never met anyone who approached social situations like scientific experiments. It was weird, but also kind of brilliant. So Zara, he said, what exactly are you studying? Like, what's your major? I am conducting research on human social behavior and emotional responses, she replied. Particularly the customs surrounding interpersonal relationships and bonding rituals. Bonding rituals. Yes. The various ceremonies and practices humans use to form connections with each other. Dating, friendship formation, family interactions. Jake nodded, though something about the way she talked still seemed off. She spoke about human behavior like she was observing it from the outside, like an anthropologist studying a completely foreign culture. But as they continued talking, Jake found himself more and more drawn to her unique perspective. Zara asked questions that made him think about things he had always taken for granted. Why do people shake hands when they meet? What makes someone laugh? How do you know when someone is being genuine versus just polite? The afternoon flew by as they talked. Other students came and went, but Jake and Zara remained deep in conversation. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. Serious, but not boring. Intelligent, but not arrogant. Curious about everything but judgmental about nothing. When the coffee shop started to empty out as evening approached, Jake realized he didn't want their conversation to end. Hey, would you like to meet up again sometime? I mean, if you want to continue your research, I could help you understand more social situations. Zara's face brightened, and again, Jake thought he saw that strange glow in her skin. That would be very helpful for my studies. And would be appropriate? How about tomorrow? Same time? Yes, I will be here tomorrow. She closed her notebook carefully and stood up. Thank you, Jake. This interaction has been most enlightening. As she walked away, Jake watched her go, feeling like he had just met someone who was going to change his life. He had no idea how right he was, or just how literally his world was about to be turned upside down. Something about Zara was different, and Jake was determined to figure out what it was. 2 weeks had passed since Jake first met Zara, and their friendship had become the best part of his daily routine. They met every afternoon, sometimes at the coffee shop, sometimes walking around campus, and occasionally in his small apartment. When he wanted to show her movies or music to help with her cultural studies, Jake had been thinking about Zara more and more lately. Not just as a friend or someone he was helping, but as someone he genuinely cared about. Her unique way of seeing the world made him feel like he was discovering life all over again. The way she analyzed a simple smile or got excited about understanding. A joke made even ordinary moments feel special. Tonight was different, though. Jake had spent the entire day preparing his apartment for what he hoped would be their first real date. He wasn't even sure if Zara would understand what a date was, but he wanted to try. He had cooked a simple pasta dinner, lit some candles, and put on soft music. Nothing too fancy, just something that felt romantic and intimate. When Zara knocked on his door at exactly 7 o'clock, Jake felt his stomach flip with nervous excitement. He opened the door to find her standing there in a simple blue dress he had never seen before. She looked beautiful, but she also looked nervous, which was unusual for her. Hello, Jake, she said, stepping into his apartment. Your message said. You wanted to show me something called a date night? I have been researching this concept, but I find the information confusing. Jake smiled, trying to hide his own nervousness. Well, that's why I thought it would be better to show you instead of just explaining it. Zara looked around the apartment, taking in the candles, the soft music, and the small table set for two. Her eyes widened slightly, and Jake noticed that familiar shimmer in her skin that seemed to happen when she was processing something important. "This is a date night?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. "Yeah, this is how humans often spend time together when they want to. When they have feelings for each other." The moment Jake said that, something amazing happened. Zara's skin began to glow with a soft, warm light that was impossible to ignore. It started at her cheeks and spread slowly across her face and down her arms. She looked like she was lit from within by the gentlest possible fire. Jake stared at her, his mind trying to process what he was seeing. "Zara, your skin. ... It's glowing." Zara looked down at her hands in panic. The glow was getting brighter, and she seemed unable to control it. "This is not supposed to happen," she said, her voice filled with distress. "What's not supposed to happen?" "Zara, what's going on?" She looked up at him, and Jake could see fear in her eyes. "Jake, I need to tell you something, but I am afraid you will not understand." "Try me," Jake said gently, sitting down on his couch and patting the space next to him. "Whatever it is, we can figure it out together." Zara sat down beside him, but she kept looking at her glowing hands like they belonged to someone else. "Where I come from, when someone experiences certain emotions for the first time, their body reacts in ways they cannot control." "What kind of emotions?" "Affection, attraction, what you humans call romantic feelings." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. "Are you saying you have romantic feelings?" The glow in Zara's skin intensified, and she nodded slowly. "I did not understand what was happening to me. For the past week, I have been experiencing sensations I have never felt before. When I see you, my heart rate increases. When you smile at me, I feel warm inside. When you explained what a date night was, I felt excited and nervous at the same time." Jake reached out and gently took one of her glowing hands in his. Her skin felt warm, but not uncomfortably so. It was like holding a piece of gentle sunlight. "Zara, those are normal feelings. That's what attraction feels like. But the glowing is not normal," she said quietly. "Jake, I have not been completely honest with you about where I come from." "What do you mean?" Zara took a deep breath. "I told you my family was emotionally distant and that I grew up isolated. That is true, but not in the way you think, my people. We do not experience emotions the way humans do. We are logical, practical, efficient. Emotions are considered unnecessary." Jake was trying to follow what she was saying, but something about her words felt bigger than he could grasp. "Your people, Jake. I am not from another country or another culture. I am not even from this planet." The words hung in the air between them. Jake stared at her, waiting for her to smile or laugh or somehow indicate that she was joking. But Zara had never joked about anything since he had known her. "You're saying you're an alien?" Zara nodded, her glow dimming slightly with what looked like shame. "I was sent here to study human behavior and social interactions. My people wanted to understand how humans function in groups, how they form bonds, how they make decisions based on feelings rather than logic." Jake felt like the world was spinning around him. Everything suddenly made sense. Her strange questions, her analytical approach to basic human interactions, the way she talked about humans like she was observing them from the outside, and especially the glowing skin. "But you're learning to feel," he said slowly. "That's what's happening to you." "Yes, and my people would not approve. They sent me here to observe and report, not to become infected with human emotions." Infected? Jake felt a flash of anger. Emotions aren't an infection. They're what make life worth living. Zara looked at him with surprise. "You are not afraid of what I am?" Jake thought about it. Was he afraid? He was definitely shocked, and part of his mind was still trying to accept that he was in love with someone from another planet. But afraid? No. "I'm not afraid of you, Zara. You're still the same person I've been getting to know for 2 weeks. You're still the girl who gets excited about understanding humor and who draws pictures of me in her notebook." Zara's glow brightened. "Again, you are not disturbed that I am not human?" "Honestly, I'm kind of amazed. I mean, you're brilliant and kind and curious about everything. If that's what aliens are like, then maybe humans could learn something from your people." "But I am becoming more human every day," Zara said. "These feelings you have taught me to recognize friendship, affection, caring about someone's happiness. More than your own, they are changing me. I cannot go back to being purely logical anymore." Jake squeezed her glowing hand gently. "Maybe that's not a bad thing. My mission is supposed to end soon. I am expected to return home with my research." "Kind of research?" "I was supposed to document human social behaviors, analyze your decision-making processes, and report on whether humans pose any threat to my people." Zara looked down. "But instead, I have fallen in love with humanity, and with you." Jake felt his breath catch. "You love me?" "I believe that is the correct term for what I am experiencing. When I think about leaving this planet, about never seeing you again, I feel something I can only describe as heartbreak." Jake leaned closer to her. "Zara, you don't have to leave. You could stay here with me. It is not that simple. My people will expect me to return. And I do not know if I can survive in human society long term. What if my differences become too obvious? What if I put you in danger?" "We'll figure it out together," Jake said. "It's what people do when they care about each other." Zara looked into his eyes, her whole face glowing softly in the candlelight. "Is this what a date night is supposed to feel like? This mixture of joy and fear and hope?" Jake smiled. "Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it's supposed to feel like. I understand now why humans value these rituals so highly. They're not just rituals, Zara. They're how we connect with each other, how we show that someone matters to us." "You matter to me, Jake, more than I ever thought possible." Jake reached up and gently touched her glowing cheek. "You matter too." "Me too. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." As they sat there in the soft light of the candles and the gentle glow of Zara's skin, Jake realized that his life had just become infinitely more complicated and infinitely more wonderful. At the same time, 3 days had passed since Zara told Jake the truth about who she really was. 3 days of stolen moments together, knowing that their time was running out. Below, Jake had barely slept, his mind constantly racing with questions about what would happen. Next, would she really have to leave? Is there any way she could stay? And most importantly, what did love even mean when one person wasn't technically a person at all? Zara had been different since that night too. The constant glow in her skin had become more pronounced, as if her emotions were getting stronger and harder to control. She told Jake that her people communicated through energy patterns. The glowing was her body's way of expressing feelings it had never experienced before. "It's like learning a new language," she had explained. "Instead of words, my body speaks in light." Now they were walking across campus together in the early evening. Zara had asked to meet at the university observatory, saying she had something important to show him. Jake could tell she was nervous. Her glow was flickering like a candle in the wind. "Jake," she said as they climbed the stairs to the observatory roof, "what I am about to show you will change everything. Are you ready for that?" "As ready as I can be," Jake replied. Though his stomach was twisting with anxiety, the observatory was closed to students at this hour, but Zara somehow had access. She led him through the building and up to the roof where the large telescope sat pointing at the darkening sky. The city lights were just beginning to twinkle below them, and the first stars were becoming visible overhead. "I need to contact my people," Zara said quietly. "My mission timeline has been extended twice, but I cannot delay much longer. They are beginning to ask questions about my research progress." "What kind of questions?" "Whether I have been compromised, whether I am still capable of objective observation." Zara's glow dimmed with what Jake had learned to recognize as sadness. "They would not understand what has happened to me." Jake watched as Zara approached the telescope and began adjusting it in ways that seemed far more complex than normal stargazing. Would require fingers moved across controls he had never seen before, and the device began to emit a soft humming sound. "Zara, what are you doing to the telescope?" I am modifying it to send a communication signal to my homeworld. This may be our last chance to talk before I have to make a decision." "What kind of decision?" Zara turned to face him, and in the darkness, her glowing skin was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. "Whether to return home as planned or to request permission to extend my stay indefinitely." Jake felt hope and fear collide in his chest. "You can do that? You can ask to stay?" "I can ask. But Jake, you must understand what that would mean. My people value logic and efficiency above all else. The idea that I would want to remain here because of emotional attachment, they would see that as a fundamental failure. But it's not a failure. What you're feeling, what we have together, that's the best part of being alive." Zara smiled sadly. That is exactly what they would not understand. The telescope finished its modifications with a soft chime, and Zara took a deep breath. "I am going to attempt contact now. I want you to stay close to me, but do not speak unless I tell you to. My people can be ... intimidating to humans." Jake nodded and moved to stand beside her. Zara placed her hands on the telescope controls, and suddenly the device began projecting a beam of light straight up into the night sky. But this wasn't ordinary light. It pulsed and changed colors in complex patterns that looked almost like a language. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the sky above them began to respond. A section of stars seemed to shimmer and shift, and suddenly, Jake could see something that made his breath catch in his throat. A ship, sleek and beautiful and definitely not from Earth, was descending through the atmosphere. "They have come for me," Zara whispered. The ship settled silently in the field beyond the observatory. Jake watched in amazement as figures began to emerge from it. They looked similar to Zara, humanoid, but with that same subtle, otherworldly quality. However, unlike Zara's warm glow, these beings seemed to emit a cold, blue-white light. "Zara of the 7th Research Division," a voice spoke, though Jake couldn't tell where it was coming from. What? It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You were scheduled to return 3 cycles ago. Explain your delay." Zara's glow intensified, and Jake could feel the tension radiating from her. "I require additional time to complete my research on human emotional responses and social bonding. Your preliminary reports indicated this research could be completed within the original timeline. What complications have arisen?" Jake watched Zara struggle with how to answer. He could see her internal battle, the duty to her people versus the feeling she had discovered. "I have encountered phenomena that require personal experience to fully understand," she said carefully. "Personal experience is not required for observational research. You are to return immediately for debriefing and reassignment. I request permission to extend my mission timeline." There was a long silence, and Jake could feel the weight of judgment from the beings in the field below. "Zara, of the 7th Research Division, you will approach for immediate evaluation." Zara looked at Jake, her eyes filled with pain. "I have to go to them. If I refuse, they will simply take me by force. Then I'm coming with you, Jake." "No. They might see you as a threat." "I don't care. We're in this together, remember?" Zara reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warmer than usual, pulsing with nervous energy. "If we do this, there is no going back. Once they see how I have changed, once they understand what has happened to me, ... What? What will happen? I do not know. My people have never encountered a situation like this before. One could be stripped of my research status. I could be forbidden from ever returning to Earth. Or worse, they might try to remove these emotions from me entirely." Jake squeezed her hand. "Then we'll face it together. If they try to take you away from me, they'll have to deal with a very stubborn human who's fallen in love with their researcher." Zara's glow brightened, and for the first time since the ship arrived, she smiled. "You would really fight an advanced alien civilization for me? I'd fight anyone for you." They walked down from the observatory together, hand in hand, toward the field where Zara's people waited. Each step, Jake felt like they were walking toward either the beginning of something incredible or the end of everything they had built together. As they approached the ship, Jake could see the other beings more clearly. They were beautiful in a cold, distant way, like living statues made of starlight. But when they looked at Zara, There was something in their expressions that Jake didn't like. Disappointment, disapproval, and something that looked almost like disgust when they noticed her warm, emotional glow. Zara of the 7th Research Division, the lead figure, spoke. You have been compromised by extended exposure to human emotional responses. This contamination must be corrected immediately. It is not contamination, Zara said, her voice stronger than Jake had ever heard it. It is growth. It is discovery. I have learned things about the nature of consciousness and connection that my people have never understood. You have been infected by primitive emotional impulses. Will return. With us for cleansing and reprogramming. Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding but his voice steady. She doesn't want to go with you. The beings turned their attention to him, and Jake felt like he was being examined under a microscope. The human speaks. Interesting, Zara, is this. The source of your contamination? Zara moved protectively in front of Jake. Says Jake. He has taught me what it means to care for another being more than yourself. He has shown me the beauty of emotional connection. Then he has damaged you. Beyond repair. No, Zara said, her glow becoming brilliant and defiant. He has made me more than I ever was before. The tension in the field was thick as Zara stood glowing defiantly in front of her people. Jake could feel the weight of their disapproval pressing down on them both. But Zara wasn't backing down, and neither was he. You speak of damage, Zara, said to the lead figure, her voice growing stronger with each word. But look at what I have accomplished. I have discovered something your research teams have missed for centuries. Enlighten us, the figure replied coldly. Emotions are not weaknesses to be eliminated. They are the source of the greatest achievements, the strongest bonds, and the most profound growth any being can experience. The humans are not primitive because they feel they are advanced, because they have learned to harness those feelings, to create beauty, art, love, and connection. Jake watched in amazement as Zara began to glow, brighter than he had ever seen her. But this wasn't the soft, warm light he was used to. This was brilliant and powerful, like she was drawing energy from every emotion she had learned to feel. In my time here, I've experienced more growth and discovery than in all my previous years combined. I have learned compassion, friendship, wonder, and yes, love. These are not infections or contaminations. They are gifts. Your mission was to observe and report, not to become emotionally involved with the subjects. Another figure spoke. And what I have observed is that emotional involvement is the key to truly understanding any species. You cannot study connection without experiencing it yourself. Jake stepped up beside Zara, his hand finding hers. She's right. You sent her here to learn about humans. She learned the most important thing about us, that we're stronger together than apart. The beings turned their attention to Jake again, but this time their expressions seemed more curious than hostile. You would risk your safety to defend her? I'd risk everything for her, Jake said without hesitation. That's what love means. What? The lead figure repeated, as if testing the word. This emotion you speak of, it compels you to act against your own interests. No, Jake said firmly. It makes me realize that her interests are my interests. Her happiness is my happiness. Her safety is more important to me than my own. Zara squeezed his hand, her glow pulsing with what Jake had learned to recognize as deep affection. This is what I have been trying to tell you. The humans have discovered something we have missed. They have learned that individual strength is multiplied when beings truly connect with each other. And what of your duties to your people? Another figure asked Zara. My greatest duty is to bring you the truth. And the truth is that emotions are not obstacles to overcome. They are tools to embrace. They make us better, stronger, more complete. Jake watched as the beings seemed to have a silent conversation among themselves, their cold light flickering. In complex patterns, finally, the lead figure spoke again. Your research findings are ... unexpected. This emotional connection you describe, you believe it has scientific value? I believe it has the potential to revolutionize how we understand consciousness. Cooperation and growth, Zara replied. But it cannot be studied from a distance, must be experienced. then you request to continue your research. I request to become a permanent cultural ambassador, to continue learning about human emotions and connections, and to help build a bridge between our peoples. Jake felt his heart stop. A permanent ambassador. That meant she could stay. But would they agree to it? The beings were silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, the lead figure approached Zara and Jake. Up close, Jake could see that this being wasn't entirely cold. There was a spark of something warmer in their eyes. Zara of the 7th Research Division, your request is unprecedented. No researcher has ever asked to remain with their study subjects permanently. Because no researcher has ever discovered what I have discovered. And what is that? At Jake, then back at her people. That the greatest discoveries come not from observing life, but from fully living it. The lead figure studied them both carefully. This human Jake, he would be willing to serve as your continued research partner in this endeavor? Jake stepped forward. I'd be honored to help Zara continue her research, and to learn about her people too, if you'd let me. You would study us as we study you? Why not? Maybe we could all learn something from each other. Another silent conversation passed between the beings. Finally, the lead figure spoke again. We will grant your request for extended research status, Zar, but with conditions. Jake felt relief flood through him, but he could sense there was more coming. Will maintain regular contact with us. You will document your findings thoroughly, and you will help us understand these emotions you speak of so highly. I accept those conditions gladly, Zara said. Furthermore, the figure continued, if your research proves as valuable as you claim, you may consider sending other researchers to experience these human emotions firsthand. Jake grinned. You mean there might be more of you coming to study? Us. Perhaps, though they will likely be more cautious than Zara was. That's okay, Jake said. We're pretty good teachers when it comes to feelings. As the beings prepared to return to their ship, the lead figure approached Jake one more time. Human Jake, you have shown remarkable courage tonight. Zara chose her research partner well. Thank you, Jake said, but I think I'm the lucky one here. After the ship departed, Jake and Zara found themselves alone in the field under the stars. Zara's glow had settled into that warm, gentle light Jake loved so much. So, Jake said, pulling her close, what happens now? Now I continue my research into human emotions and connections. With your help, of course. Of course. What's our first experiment? Zara smiled, her skin shimmering with happiness. I believe humans have a custom involving shared meals, evening entertainment, and romantic conversation. I think you called it a date night? Jake laughed. I think that's perfect research material. And Jake, yeah? Thank you for teaching me that the best discoveries come from the heart, not just the mind. Jake kissed her forehead gently, marveling at the soft warmth of her skin. Thank you for teaching me that love really is universal. As they walked back toward campus together, hand in hand, Jake realized that his quiet life as a linguistics, the student had turned into the most incredible adventure he could have imagined. He was dating an alien researcher, helping to bridge the gap between two worlds, and discovering that love really could conquer anything, even the vast distances between stars. 6 months later, Jake and Zara were still together, still learning from each other every day. Zara had established a small research station near the university, and Jake had become her official liaison with the human community. Their relationship had become a model for interspecies cooperation and understanding. Sometimes, when they were sitting in their old spot at the coffee shop, Jake would watch Zara light up with that beautiful glow whenever she laughed at his jokes, or learn something new about human nature. And he would remember that first day when he thought she was just a curious exchange student who didn't understand social cues. Now he understood that she had been learning the most important lesson of all, that no matter where you come from, the need for connection and love is truly universal. And sometimes the best research happens when you stop trying to study life from the outside and start living it from the inside Their love story had become legend among both humans and Zara's people, proof that understanding and acceptance could bridge any gap, even the one between worlds.